Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Why, hello everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And for this week, I could tell you that we had quite a week when it comes to entertainment news. Mainly because it's just one big news coming out one after another, so much so that even if they might not necessarily be animation related, I think it really is worth talking about it here because it's not just about cartoons, it's also about the craziness. And trust me, we got a massive blend of both for what I have here. In fact, most of them would technically be considered a major highlight, like a major headline of their own. So don't worry, folks. This is definitely going to be one of those episodes where there will be plenty to go and talk about, and I'm sure that you guys would like to go and put in your piece on this as well. So strap in because we're going to be in for a wild ride. So with all that said and done, I would like to go and ask the chat wall, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are we all prepared now? Okay, so, do we have it? Yep, okay. So it looks like we already got people set. We already got people prepared here. That's great. That's great to see. All right, so now that we are all ready, I think it is now time that we shall go and get this one started. And with our first story that I have for you today, what we are going to be talking about is actually going to be regarding award season. Now, of course, as you guys probably know, award season this year has been massively delayed, mainly due to the pandemic, since that has been causing a lot of delays of movies and even productions, where I wouldn't be surprised that we might even see this for the next few years. Like, at this point, if it weren't for the pandemic, we would be like right smack in the middle of it all, where we would have some awards already done, and we would be setting ourselves up to be ready for the Oscars. But, as you can tell, this is not happening. And so far, it is only this week, now that we have officially started February, now the hype for award season has officially begun. Not the season itself, but at least the hype for it, as we now got our first batch of nominations of major awards. And sorry about that. Wrong button, sorry. Alright, but what it's going to be, actually, what I'm referring to is actually regarding the Golden Globe Awards. Yes, we have now officially gotten the nominations for the 78th Annual Golden Globe Awards from the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. And during that time, we have heard a lot of major nominations, a lot of big things that actually did happen. These include lots of nominations for prominent movies that I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot during this year's award season. Stuff like Nomadland, Mank, The Trial of Chicago 7, movies such as The Prom, Palm Springs, even Borat's subsequent movie film as well. And speaking of that one, there was even a record that has been made by Sacha Baron Cohen. Well, not necessarily breaking a record, but he is among one of the people now that received the most nominations for the Golden Globes in 1 year. But since this is AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, we are just going to be focusing on one major category, and one category only. And of course, that is the Best Animated Feature category. And this could actually give us a little bit of a glimpse of what it's going to be like for the upcoming award season. And so, with that said, the nominees for Best Animated Feature at the Golden Globes are, which is right at the bottom of this article of Variety, it is The Croods: A New Age, Onward, Over the Moon, Soul, and Wolfwalkers. And by the way, on a side note, I would just like to add that when it comes to Soul, that actually got 2 nominations, not just for Best Animated Feature, but also it got nominated for Best Original Score, where it is nominated alongside The Midnight Sky, Tenet, News of the World, Mank, and basically Soul. And also just want to add that 2 of the 3 composers and 2 of the 3 music people in Soul, specifically Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, they also got another nomination for Mank. So they pretty much got double the chance of possibly winning Best Original Score. So that's pretty much the big thing that I want to go and highlight here. And what I find to be extremely interesting is that just last week, actually, I actually made my predictions of what would be nominated at the Oscars for Best Animated Feature. And even though this is technically the Golden Globes and not the Oscars, I am actually quite surprised on how very close I was with my predictions. At least I got 4 out of the 5 correct with The Croods of New Age, Over the Moon, Soul, and Wolfwalkers. The only difference between my prediction and this list right here is, of course, regarding Onward, where instead of that, I was thinking about Shaun the Sheep movie Farmageddon. But then again, you could argue that when it comes to Farmageddon, that's a little bit of a different case, and it's a really weird scenario with that one, considering that Farmageddon did get released in 2019 in the UK, whereas the rest of the world, or for most of the world, it was actually released in 2020, and more specifically on Netflix. So it's kind of like a weird rule, a weird exception, but then again, we know that at the Oscars this year, it might actually get a chance, which is why I made my prediction for that. But still, it's just funny to see that I was actually pretty close to it. And I'm just going to say right now, actually, that fudge nabbit. I need to get a little bit of practice when it comes to like switching things. Like I just learned that I can actually use like my keyboard to help me out when it comes to quickly switching from like the big screen to the small screen and stuff like that. So just need to get a little bit of time to actually get used to it. But anyways, as I was saying, with the nominations, honestly, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if this is going to be the list that we are going to see with the Oscars or with some of the other major award shows. Like, it does seem pretty legit when it comes to the type of lists that they would normally do. Like, if we go and look at it once again, like you got the grand majority of it is pretty much the mainstream movies and the contenders that you would expect that would be competing for the award season. Like you got of course, like you got your Disney film, you got your extra mainstream animated movie with Croods of New Age, and now this is going to be a part of the norm where we are going to see our Netflix contender, which in this case is going to be Over the Moon. So of course we're going to get that. When it comes to Onward, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to be like an exact copy of what we will see at the Oscars, because it has happened from time to time when the list for Best Animated Feature at the Golden Globes would end up becoming the exact same as in the Oscars. Now, beforehand, it's often a little bit different because it's only until recently that the Golden Globes decided to go and look upon independent films to also nominate them as well. But still, though, I wouldn't be surprised if we would actually find this same thing, that my prediction would only be a little bit off, where Shaun the Sheep wouldn't get nominated, and instead it would actually be Onward. Plus the fact that it has happened plenty of times where both Disney animated films, when they get released in the same year, that they would both get nominated. That does happen sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. And I know there is a bit of that exception because technically both of them are from Pixar, but still, like, you cannot say that Onward doesn't have a chance to actually get nominated at the Oscars as well. especially when it did get a boost where it would actually, since it did get nominated at the Golden Globes, so there is still a major fighting chance for it to actually be nominated for the Oscars. But for the rest, I would say it's probably secure that it would get nominated for the Oscars. Now, of course, I think it goes without saying that if we would have to go and guess who would actually be a winner here, well, I think undeniably it would have to be Soul. So I'm just going to say right now that the winner for the Golden Globes for Best Animated Feature this year, most likely it's going to be Soul. However, I'm just going to say this right now. The key word to emphasize what I just said is most likely. That doesn't necessarily mean Soul is going to win. Now, the reason why I say this is because, yeah, like chances are it's most likely going to win, since a lot of people do actually state that it is the best animated feature of the year and stuff like that. However, the only thing that's holding me back is because of what we have experienced last year. Now, if you may recall, one of the biggest surprises at the Golden Globes last year was when Missing Link, the latest animated feature from Laika, ended up winning the Golden Globe Award when everyone was guessing that it would either be Klaus or Toy Story 4. So there is that unpredictability that could legit happen. And you never know if the Golden Globes decided to take a complete left turn and maybe they would give it to either Wolfwalkers or maybe even Over the Moon. They might pull off that unexpected twist. So that's why I'm not placing all my bets onto Soul, even though it does seem like it's most likely, especially when it does have an extra nomination. And usually during award season, when you see an animated film getting an extra nomination in another category, that is a strong indicator that it might actually be the big winner for Best Animated Feature. But still, I'm just going to be a little bit cautious, and I'm just going to say maybe it's going to be Soul. Like, it could actually be something else. Like, it could be Onward, it could be Over the Moon, it could be Wolfwalkers, but I'm just going to say right now, I highly doubt that it's going to be The Crew's A New Age. I mean, yeah, sure, it did, like, the first movie got nominated in the past, but I don't think it was really a winner. So I think, honestly, among all this list here, the one that would least likely to win would actually be The Crew's A New Age. But then again, like, just because I think Soul would most likely win, that doesn't mean there is a chance for either that doesn't mean there wouldn't be a chance for something like Wolfwalkers or Over the Moon or Onward or something like that. So I'm just keeping my eye out on that. And honestly, like, as much as I would like to look into some of the other ones, like in the other lists, like I'll be honest here, I'm not necessarily all that familiar myself. I'm sure you guys probably have your opinions on some of the other nominations, and if you do, like, go write them down. Like, you can write down in the comments or in the chat wall or something like that, if you like to. I mean, there are some that, like, are pretty exciting to check out, like seeing The Mandalorian actually getting nominated for Best Series, I believe, Best Drama Series. Where would that be? I mean, like, this whole list is a little bit messed up. It's just a little bit wonky, so it's like everything is so randomized. Yeah, like, you got The Mandalorian nominated for Best Television Series, but then again, that's its only nomination, so I highly doubt it would actually win it, but still, it's cool seeing it being nominated. And it's also cool seeing Hamilton also getting a nomination for Best Motion Picture for Musical or Comedy. And it did get another additional nomination with Lin-Manuel Miranda's performance as well. But then again, I guess for that one, it's going to be a little bit more unpredictable, especially like when you do have some other legit competitors like The Prom or Borat's subsequent movie film. So that thing is going to be a little bit more unpredictable, and that's going to be a thing that will be a bit of a wait and see. But yeah, so that's pretty much my initial thoughts that I have, mainly on the Best Animated Feature category. So with all that said, I would like to go and say congratulations to the people that received a nomination at this year's Golden Globe Awards, and the best of luck to you when the Golden Globes are going to be happening at the end of this month, which it states here on Variety that it will be happening on February 28th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So on the last day of February, that's when we're going to see who are going to be the winners at the Golden Globes. All right. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the nominations for this year's Golden Globe Awards? Not necessarily just for Best Animated Feature, but if you have any comments for some of the other ones, let me know. Are there some that you're excited about? Are there some that you're hoping to win? Do you feel like there are some surprises or some snuffs? Because I know that there is one that is kind of a controversial choice in here, which what was it? Emily in Paris, I believe, something like that. Yeah, Emily in Paris that got nominated, which is controversial. But let me know what you think about some of these nominations. Okay, let's see what we got here. In terms of DreamWorks, while I like The Croods 2 and all, I would nominate Trolls World Tour instead for its themes and thought it was way better overall. But besides that, these are good choices, and I'm hoping for Soul to win. Oh, that's actually interesting. I guess, yeah, I can imagine some people would probably have a debate either on Trolls World Tour or Croods A New Age. For me personally, I prefer Croods more so than Trolls. But I could see where they are pretty close in terms of their quality. So I guess I could imagine that there would be like a major battle between the DreamWorks community on like which one deserves the nomination more. But again, I'm not surprised it's actually Croods, since the first movie did get the upper hand on actually getting a nomination for Best Animated Feature in a few places. So yeah, I think it's pretty much expected that Croods would top Trolls when it comes to the award season. Let's see now. My money's on Soul. It's easily the best out of the films that I've seen here. Keep in mind that I haven't seen Croods A New Age or Wolfwalkers. Oh man, you should watch Wolfwalkers though. That movie's just amazing. Not much to say here, but does anyone find it a bit weird that James Corden got nominated? I actually thought he was kind of cringy in The Prom. Still nice to see Hamilton nominated. Yeah, that is also another one that I've seen that is kind of controversial, with James Corden's nomination for The Prom, mainly because it is a performance where it is a straight guy playing as a gay guy. And I know that there are a lot, like, I know it has happened like plenty of times, and it'll probably happen so many times again afterwards, but still, it is kind of a controversial decision right there, where some people could say it's like whitewashing gay people, where you got someone like James Corden playing a gay character. I haven't seen The Prom, so I can't really critique or comment on his performance there, but I know that that is another controversial decision. Let's see. Onward over the Willoughbys, that's just not right. I agree with all the other nominations, but Willoughbys should have been nominated instead of Onward. Something needs to change right now. But also check out One Night in Miami, which is really good, Tom Hanks' News of the World, and The Five Bloods and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which are some of the best movies in 2020 has offered. Yeah, I definitely get what you mean, and I definitely heard a lot of great things about some of these movies, like News of the World, and especially the Ma Rainey movie, especially. And with the Willoughbys, I guess that's another one that would be close. But then again, I would argue between Onward and Croods: A New Age. Like, if we have to include Willoughbys, I would switch out Croods and put in Willoughbys instead. Like, I think, like, honestly, between the two, I definitely would prefer Onward than Croods, so that's why I personally would make that change. But anyways, let's go and see what else we got here. Let's see. Oh, I'll go with this one. I'm not surprised by this list at all. I am so happy that Over the Moon got nominated, even though I don't think it'll win. To be honest, even though I'm expecting Soul to win. I'm kind of rooting for Onward, since I find Soul to be slightly overrated as much as good as the movie was. Also, if Chadwick Boseman doesn't win for Best Actor in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, people are going to riot. Yeah, I think that's gonna be like an easy pick. I think honestly with Chadwick Boseman's performance, especially the fact that he died recently, that's definitely gonna give him a massive leverage to get him the win for that one. I think that, like, to be very honest, where Chadwick Boseman was nominated, that's an easier prediction than for Best Animated Feature, honestly. All right, so let's see what else we got here. I'm actually happy with the nominations. For me, oh no, I didn't read that one. Sorry. I'm actually happy with the nominations. For me, I am rooting for Soul to win. I am also hoping Hamilton wins for Best Musical. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time ever two Pixar films have been nominated for Best Animated Feature at the exact same year. In terms of the Golden Globes, I think I'm not 100% sure, but that could actually be a possibility. But keep in mind, like, it's very rare that we would actually have two Pixar films in one year. Like, it's definitely not 2017 because Cars 2 didn't get, yeah, Cars 3 didn't get nominated. And I don't think it wasn't 2015 because Good Dinosaur was nominated. But I don't think, when it comes to 2013, however, no, wait, no. 2013 only had Monsters University. No, so I think you might be right. Actually, yeah, that could be a case. Yeah, this is the first time we actually do see two Pixar films nominated in one year at the Golden Globes. So maybe we'll see that for the Oscars too. Who knows? Let's see. Congrats to the animated films that got nominated, although Soul will likely win, despite rooting for Wolf Walkers to win Best Animated Feature, but congrats. Also, congrats to some of the shows and movies that got nominated, so may the best win. All right, that's nice. Let's see. And I also see another comment where somebody is nominated for, like, someone is rooting for Wolf Walkers. And let's see. And I'll read one more comment before we jump into the next story. If I had to name what film I'm personally rooting for, it's definitely Over the Moon, but realistically, it'll definitely go to either Soul or Wolfwalkers. As for the other nominations, I'd mentioned the controversial film music being nominated, but then again, the Globes also nominated Cats last year, so I won't say anything except Jingle Jangle was robbed. Yeah, that's also something you gotta keep in mind. Like, it did nominate that completely bland Cats song that I don't, like, I don't even remember how it went, but all I just remembered was that it was bland, it was pointless, and it was just awful. But yes, once again, congratulations to all the nominations, and we'll see who was the winner on February 28th. All right, so now let's go and jump onto our next story. And what I'm going to be talking about will be a bonus miscellaneous. It is not necessarily related to animation, but it is definitely a crazy story, especially with the amount of movies that would come out of it. And what I'm going to be talking about was possibly last week's biggest story that happened in all across the fields, not just entertainment, but just in general, GameStop. More specifically, the GameStop stock story. And honestly, I need to, like, throughout this week, I've actually trained myself to try to say GameStop stocks because it was actually quite difficult to say. It's almost a bit of a tongue twister in itself. But anyways, as I was saying, as you guys probably remember last week, you may recall that there have been a bunch of Redditors who decided to go and come together and try to really go and boost up the stocks and the shares of several different companies. One notable one, of course, being AMC Theaters and AMC Entertainment, but their primary target was GameStop, where for that one, they actually raised the stocks to make them like 10 or even higher, like make it far bigger than it was before. Because of course with the pandemic, the company had been massively struggling and their shares just went significantly up thanks to the help of those Redditors. But at the same time, it did come at the cost, but it wasn't that much of a cost for the average people like you and me, where it ended up taking down a lot of the hedge funds from billionaires, and it ultimately ended up becoming this massive David and Goliath story of like these little average Joe Redditors really taking advantage of the system in Wall Street versus Wall Street itself. And that was pretty much the big story that did occur, and nowadays we are seeing things winding down. However, we are starting to see another chapter immediately happening where Hollywood is actually seeing what's been going on with it and really wants to take advantage of turning that little moment into a movie. And let's go and begin by talking about MGM. Yes, MGM has already managed to get the rights to the book proposal called The Anti-Social Network that is going to be made by Ben Mesrich. And for those of you who don't know, Ben Mesrich actually did have a lot of experience when it comes to not just writing books, but also having them turned into movies. In fact, the reason why he called it the Anti-Social Network, it's actually a little bit of a pun based on a movie that was based on one of his books. Keep in mind that he was actually the New York Times best-selling author of the movie that is called The Accidental Billionaires, The Founding of Facebook, A Tale of Sex, Money, Genius, and Betrayal, in which that movie was actually turned into The Social Network. And for now, the most that is currently going on with that movie right now, even though the book itself hasn't been written yet, MGM is planning to go and turn that potential book into a movie. They even got some producers that are already attached to it. I'm just trying to find them in my article here on Deadline. Yes, here it is. We already got Aaron Ryder as a producer, and we also got Cameron and Tyler Wilkavoss, who's going to be executive producing. And I guess we cannot forget, of course, like one of the heads, which is going to be Michael DeLuca, that's also going to be heavily involved with the project, since DeLuca and Mesrich already worked together for The Social Network. So already, like, even though, like, when this was announced, it wasn't even a week that it was actually it wasn't even a week that the whole story actually occurred, and yet they already want to try to turn that into a movie. But then, literally, one day later, another company decided to step in and try to turn the GameStop story into a feature film. This time being Netflix, where, like I said, the day after MGM made their announcement, Netflix has revealed that they are currently in talks right now with Mark Bull for him to go and write a movie based on the GameStop story. And for those of you who don't know, Mark Bull is actually a highly credited writer, already winning an Oscar for his work on many acclaimed movies such as The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark Zero Dark 30. I don't know why I thought it was Trinity. Sorry about that. Zero Dark 30. Okay, yes. But anyways, but they're not just negotiating with Mark Bull to go and write this. They're also discussing with Scott Galloway, who is an activist and a journalist, to also be involved to go and supervise the script. Now, even though Netflix does not have a script yet, and they're just currently talking with potential writers to go and work on this project, the one thing they do have is actually a star. They know who's going to be leading their movie, and that's actually going to be Noah Centineo, who has already appeared in many of Netflix movies, including To All the Boys I Loved Before. But believe it or not, even though we already got both MGM and Netflix trying to make a movie, a few days later, another movie that is being proposed and another movie is trying to be in the works, this time from RatPac Entertainment, where Brett Ratner has managed to bought the life rights to Joel Rogozinski, which, if you guys don't know, Rogozinski, or is it Joel Rogozinski? Oh no, sorry, it's Jamie Rogozinski. Sorry about that. No. Okay, Joel Rogozinski is the brother of Jamie. Okay, sorry about that. Wow. I need to read this more carefully because I almost screwed up my people. But yes, apparently Brett Ratner has bought the life rights to Jamie Rogozinski, who is known as the founder of the place where the whole GameStop story happened, which is Wall Street Bets. And basically, Brett Ratner's plan is to go and turn that into a biographical picture to tell the story of Jamie Rogozinski and how he managed to create Wall Street Bets. At the same time, he also managed to buy he also managed to buy the rights of Rogozinski's latest book, which is called Wall Street Bets: How Boomers Made the World's Biggest Casino for Millennials. And so far, that is currently the biggest thing that has happened this week. Or at least one of the biggest movie news that did occur, where we got not one, not two, but three entire movie proposals in the works, all based on the GameStop story. And honestly, my initial thought on this is that, really, guys? I don't know about you, but I just feel like this just feels too soon. Like, okay, I get it. In a sense, I do understand why Hollywood really wants to go and try to make a movie based on the GameStop story. Because the big thing about this is that when you look at it, as I said before, it is a massive David and Goliath story. And if there's one thing that people love to go and completely eat up, it is actually a great underdog tale, especially if it's about like the average Joe that audiences could relate to, see them as no different as like you or me or whatever, standing up against like the big billionaire elites, like who is considered to be like the man or the big corporation, or in this case here, like you can't get any more elite than freaking Wall Street. So like a story, or a true story, about a bunch of average Joes on the internet decided to go and take on Wall Street and actually actually play their own game and actually take advantage of the system. Yeah, that's definitely something that feels like a writer's dream. That this definitely feels like something that could actually turn into this incredibly epic story about how like anyone can manage to do anything, including taking advantage of the system, including like pretty much go into this Robin Hood style story where they would go and like take on the rich and in a way give it to the poor, because we have also heard about those good stories about many of those redditors who did take advantage of the GameStop stocks, and they would do some good things. Like there were reports about this one guy who had some stocks on GameStop. I'm telling you, it's so hard to say, like to associate stocks and GameStop. It's like sometimes you end up mixing the two. But anyways, as I was saying, there was this one guy who really did take advantage and managed to gain tens of thousands of dollars from those stocks already. And he ultimately decided that he's just going to go and actually invest that money onto a bunch of Nintendo Switches and a bunch of game consoles and give them to children's hospitals. So there are definitely plenty of stories out there where you hear about people who are investing their GameStop stock money pretty wisely and even generously in a way. So of course there's a lot of amazing material for them to actually really work out. But with that said and done, though, like I said before, I just can't help but feel like this is just a terrible idea. I feel like it is just way too freaking soon to do so, especially when we are talking about a true life story like this. And the big reason why I feel like this is such a problematic idea, it's mainly because of the fact about the long-term effects about the whole GameStop stocks. Like, the thing is, do you know what are the long-term consequences of what happened last week? Do you know what happened in the long run because this whole scenario happened with Wall Street and the stocks and with companies like GameStop and AMC and stuff like that? The answer? No one knows. Nobody knows. Like I said before, this literally happened last week, or the week before that I am recording this right now. We don't know what happened in the long run, and we don't know if this whole controversy or this entire major story actually has any long-term effects that actually did affect Wall Street in a way, that it actually did affect those hedge funds in the long run where they really got screwed over for the rest of their lives. We don't know if that's actually the case. And from what I've been seeing, to be honest, it doesn't really look like it, because even after the week, or even after a few days that whole thing occurred, like the stocks on GameStop right now, like they haven't been going that well. Like, yeah, like as you can see here, like I have my like I'm on Google, and it has like the entire like statistics on the stocks on GameStop. And you can see in terms of the shares, like before the whole thing happened at the start of the year, like you see the numbers, they were pretty low. Like they began 2021 like really down, like less than $20 a share. But then suddenly in the middle of the week, like in the middle of January, it got a bit better, where like they've been averaging out like around $30 to $40 a share. But then you got that whole story happening. You got the whole Redditors who decided to go to work and really take advantage of the stocks on GameStop. And then whoop, it got massively high, where they peaked to the point where they almost reached $350 a share. Like literally the week before, it was like almost 10 times less. So imagine that massive boost that they got. So yeah, that is incredible. That is extremely noteworthy. But then following for the next days, it still stayed a bit up. Like at some points they managed to stay over $300. But then suddenly, when we reach to this week, boom. Like it went massively down, where nowadays, like it's just averaging out on around like $50 to $60 a share. Like, yeah, it's debatably twice as much as it was, or more than twice as much, how it was compared to last month. But then again, $50 to $60 a share were certainly not like how it was back in the height of the whole Wall Street bets story. You know, it ain't as big as it used to be. So we don't know if there's any consequences, or like now that we're moving on from that, is it really going to change much? Is it really actually going to be something that would really help out GameStop? Like, would it actually fully save out their business? Honestly, I don't know. That's just something that we would kind of have to wait and see in the long run. And we gotta, trust me, this is something that we would have to wait. I'm guessing at the earliest, we would have to see the long-term effects in the middle of the summer. Like, give it 6 months, like somewhere in July and stuff like that, to see if there are any changes, and if this story actually did do anything to GameStop. And from what I've been seeing, so far from what I'm seeing, it's like, I don't know. Like, did it really affect GameStop? Did it really affect Wall Street? I don't know. And that's the biggest problem when it comes to making a movie based on this entire story. It's just that we don't know the long-term effects, if they actually did do something to either Wall Street or GameStop or whatever. And you could tell that with many of these companies, it really does feel like they are jumping the gun on this. They're not letting this story simmer to see if there is actually something worth talking about. If in the long run, we actually do see some major consequences that would forever change the history of either GameStop or even Wall Street in general. And honestly, I'm just gonna say right now, like for each of these ideas, like yeah, like I could probably see if there is some potential for like the MGM one, especially if they are collaborating with the guy who thought of the book that is based on The Social Network. Like maybe there is something there, but again, that is just something that I feel like is too soon. And then you got Netflix thing, which I feel like that's just going to be something that would be a disaster, especially the fact that they don't have a script, yet they already brought on board someone like freaking Noah Centineo. Yeah, I'm sure that like Noah's daddy already got some more Legends of Oz money in order to make sure that he still stays as a star or something like that, you know? It's honestly ridiculous the fact that Netflix would immediately not just jump the gun on trying to make a story based on that, but the fact that they would immediately hire Noah Centineo before they even got a script in the first place. And one thing that I've already seen on social media is that people are already starting to be fed up with Noah Centineo. It's already obvious that Netflix, and even in a few other studios as well, they're desperate to try to make him the next they're trying to make him the next Zac Efron, but the problem is Noah Centineo is not the next Zac Efron because he doesn't even have the talent. Have you ever seen a movie with Noah Centineo? This dude cannot act, period. And already audiences are just fed up with the guy. And yeah, I am aware that there are other studios trying to make him famous, like he's going to be in that Black Adams movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But then again, hopefully there will be more updates on the court case with the Legends of Oz, and hopefully that will change. But yeah, like already audiences are just sick and tired of Noah Centineo, and honestly, like hopefully we'll see him go away soon. But then there is also the other one that Brett Ratner is trying to do with the biography on the Wall Street Bets guy. And that one, I will say, that I could see it has the most potential because at least with that one, it actually has something. You do have substance much more than just the GameStop story. Like, at least you got something to talk about. You got a biography. You got, like, someone that you can really focus on. At least you got something with that. But with the rest of the others, I honestly don't think so. And I think, honestly, from all this, what's going to happen is that I can guarantee you not all of them are going to happen. I can guarantee you that like, we're not going to see, like, one day suddenly RatPac, MGM, and Netflix are going to put out their movie of the GameStop stock story. Like, that ain't going to happen. You know that because of this massive competition, there will be some people who will probably drop their project because they might end up screwing themselves over because there's just too many movies of the same story, and like all of them will just collapse in itself. So chances are, in the future, I can probably imagine only one of them is going to survive, but we'll just have to wait and see. But for now, I just feel like this is just way too soon, and that Hollywood is really jumping the gun on trying to make a story based on something that honestly just happened. And like in the case of when these stories or like when this news was published, that it didn't even happen like a week ago, and yet they're already so desperate in trying to turn that into a feature film. So honestly, I don't really see anything good coming out of this story. I don't really see any good coming out of these potential movies trying to really ironically capitalize on the whole GameStop story. So really, it's just I feel like it's too soon. Just wait a few months to see if there are some true consequences, and if it truly is a story that is worth talking about, or if it was just one quick trend that occurred and that was pretty much it. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to go and ask you all, how do you feel about all these studios desperately trying to make a GameStop movie? Do you feel like it's too soon? Do you feel like some of them might have some potential? Do you think it's actually a good idea in general? Let me know what you think. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh boy, some people have a lot to say about this. Let's see now. I always love going to GameStop every day, check out the new games, get some gift cards for either Nintendo or Xbox, and getting some new consoles, like me waiting for a PS5 to be restocked. But my question is, why a GameStop movie? I just feel like this is coming too soon and too quick. But I guess that's just my thoughts on this. And I actually feel bad for what's happening to GameStop right now. Also, are you waiting for the Xbox Series XS to be restocked, even though you might not be voting on the PS5? I don't know. If I would get another console, I might lean more towards a PS5, to be very honest. That seems like that might have more potential and probably the best option to get like the latest games, but that's just me. Like for now, like I'm not really in a rush to go and buy a new console. I'm still really enjoying my Switch. But if I would get another one, and if it's either the Xbox Series or the PS5, I might go with PS5. Let's see now. The entire story is just the definition of the term, what the hell is going on? I haven't been too aware with the whole GameStop stock thing outside of the recent SNL cold open. But with all of this going on, I just gotta ask, huh? I also gotta question why Noah Centineo has to be cast in this one, mainly because nowadays, yeah, he hasn't improved from his days of underacting on Austin and Ally. Yeah, and that's also another major problem, and that's why it does feel suspicious. Like, I know it might sound extreme to accuse him of bribery in order to get into this, but especially with this kind of story right here, the fact that Netflix did not even have a script, they only got an idea of a movie, and yet they already decided they want to cast Noah Centineo. Yeah, that is honestly very much suspicious, and honestly, with the whole Legends of Oz story, it doesn't seem impossible to actually think that bribery might have actually been involved in order to keep Noah Centineo relevant and to make it look like, yeah, he is a star worth having. I don't know. There's really a lot of suspicious things going on, so yeah, that really is the problem, especially with a man with like such lack of talent like Noah. Like it's like honestly, how else could you explain it? Like there is a lot of like suspicious crap going on. Okay, let's see. Yeah, and he even yeah, I see the commenter also said like his dad is behind the Legend of Oz scam. Well, yeah, that's where he got his money. It's because he conned so many people like to for this Legends of Oz movie. But keep in mind the court is still going on. Like they're in the appeal stage right now, but the good news is that like the defendants like the Centineos and all those people, like they try to dismiss it, but that ain't happening and it's still going on. So hopefully we will hopefully I do hope we will get some updates on that soon. Let's see what else we got here. This is just too early to make a movie about this whole story, especially now that it seems to be dying right now. Sure, the idea of a story about common folk rebelling against hedge funders and short sellers could be a great movie, but this is not the best time for this. I can give them a chance though, except the one with Noah Centineo, because screw that guy. I do also have a stepfather who was interested in the whole situation since he was interested in stocks. Yeah, honestly, I'm sure for people who are interested in stocks, like the whole GameStop thing, like was such a massive thrill for them. And honestly, even though I am like a full grown adult and I am in my late 20s, I do kind of regret a little bit that I'm not invested in stocks yet, and it does make me consider that I should. So that's why I am starting to consider it's like, like if there is one thing that this whole GameStop story thing did to me, even though I didn't fully comprehend that myself, like it made me consider it's like maybe I should go start investing in stocks, like actually, start investing my money in order in the prospects to go and get more money, you know what I mean? So like it like if anything, this did make me interested in stocks and to actually go and invest to actually, hopefully make more money, to spend money to make money. All right, let's see what else we got here. I've only been to one GameStop shop, and that was during my first week trip to Italy. All I got from there was a Skylander supercharger figure named Thrillipede. In Malaysia and the UK, GameStop is non-existent. In Malaysia, we only have a lesser-known shop such as Game Corner and Gamers Hideout. In the UK, we do have a shop simply called Game. What I'm trying to say is that how many other countries do have GameStop? For those who don't have it, the movie might either be irrelevant or confusing. Honestly, you do bring up a good point. I am not gonna lie, because it is true that GameStop is more like a US exclusive thing. Like, even for me in Canada, we don't really have GameStops. Like, yeah, maybe we would have like a few of them in like some major cities like Toronto or maybe Vancouver or something like that. But for the most part, we don't have GameStop. Instead, we have EB Games, which is basically the Canadian version of GameStop. In fact, I think before GameStop, it was called EB Games, but in Canada, we kept the title of EB Games, and America just became GameStop. But yeah, like you do bring up a pretty good point that for many people out there, especially for those who are more interested in stocks more so than gaming, they would probably just get a little bit confused because when it comes to GameStop, yeah, that's more just a US exclusive thing, and they'll be confused. It's like, It's like, what's GameStop? Is it like game or something like that? Or like even some confused boomer Canadians that are going to be like, what's GameStop? Is it like an EB Games or something like that? But you do actually bring up a very interesting point there. Let's see. So I'm not a gamer or an economist, but yeah, I agree with you that this GameStop story is way too soon. Hell, I can name a far more interesting story that has more info on it before, during, and after the events of media company Michael Eisner at Disney. That could be a trilogy on its own. Also, Noah Centineo as an everyman Redditor playing Wall Street for a video game store? Yeah, no. Honestly, you do bring up something interesting. That would actually make a pretty legit movie. In fact, what they should do, like, if they are going to make a Michael Eisner movie, the way that I can imagine it is just make an adaptation on the book Disney War. And if you guys haven't read Disney War, I highly recommend you to do so. In fact, for Animation Look Back Disney Plus, that was actually a major source where I got a lot of my info. In fact, like I would even say some of my best info actually came from Disney War. Like, make an adaptation on that to tell the story of Michael Eisner, and I think you might have a pretty epic movie there. Let's see, what else do we got here? Let's see. Might as well go with you. So MGM, Netflix, and RatPac Entertainment, who I thought RatPac was dead since the sexual misconduct from Brett Ratner, which caused Warner Brothers to cut ties with him and his company to make a GameStop movie. As a casual GameStop goer, I find this a dumb idea and probably won't go well if they make their own movies. I'm also not hoping well, so I'm also not holding up well. Oh, it already is not holding up well, so I don't know why movie companies want to make their own films, although I understand for MGM, but it's not going to end well. Sorry, not on board. Yeah, you are right. You do bring up a good point. All right, I think I'm going to go and jump onto one more story. I'm going to read one more comment before we jump into the next one. Let's see. I really, wait. No, anyways, sorry, I was just a little bit confused. It's like, oh, maybe this one. Nah, okay, I'll just go with this one. Let's see. I really don't think this is a good idea, considering how GameStop, in my opinion, is just on life support at this point. I don't see the point of these existing. I can understand one of them being created, but making multiple ones is not a good idea. Also, I am wondering if these films will address how GameStop infamously treats their employees. Nah, unfortunately, like when it comes, yeah, and that's also another confusing factor into this of why this movie might not necessarily work. Is mainly because, yeah, if you're gonna make a movie about GameStop, it's not actually gonna be about GameStop, the store. It's just gonna be about the stocks of GameStop. That's what's gonna be highlighted. Like, they're not gonna look into the store. They're not gonna look into the infamous company. Like, honestly, like if you really desperately need that, I think SaberSpark actually just released a new video about GameStop, and if you want to learn more about the store itself, then you just check out his video. What these movie companies are gonna do, it's not gonna be like what SaberSpark just did. They're just gonna do their own story, just focusing on the subreddit and on the stocks, and that's it. All right, so for our next story, unfortunately, this is going to be a little bit of a sad one because this is about someone who has recently passed away. In fact, as I am recording this person just passed away yesterday. And normally, when someone would die that is actually significant in the field of entertainment and especially in animation, normally I would just save those in the opening to just give a little bit of a quick thought and say that they rest in peace, and then I would move on to the actual show. But this time around, it's actually going to be a little bit different, mainly because when it comes to this guy, the impact he made in the entertainment business is just so huge, and that he worked on so many major projects that has touched our hearts, that at least one of his acting moments has definitely touched our hearts so much that it is unavoidable to really talk about it in full. And what I am going to be discussing right here is actually going to be the passing of Christopher Plummer. Yes, it is true, folks. Christopher Plummer has sadly passed away this week at the age of 91. Now, the good news from this is that he did live a good, full life. As I said before, he passed away at 91, and he didn't die from cancer or COVID or anything that would make his death suddenly abrupt. It was actually just because of old age that he passed away because it was his time. And it was even reported that he passed away peacefully at his home in Connecticut. And just to read you a quick comment coming from his longtime friend and manager Lou Pitt, it actually states here. Chris was an extraordinary man who deeply loved and respected his profession with great old-fashioned manners, self-deprecating humor, and the music of words. He was a national treasure who deeply relished his Canadian roots. Though through his art and humanity, he touched a lot of our hearts, and his legendary life will endure for all generations to come. He will forever be with us. And when it comes to the works of Christopher Plummer, well, honestly, I gotta say that his work has gone through so many years, and the amount of work that he has done has crossed so many generations. I can even say that he's one of the few people out there in which his own filmography actually has its own Wikipedia page. Yes, this is not just about Christopher Plummer in general. This is about Christopher Plummer's film works, like his life and stuff like that. That's a separate article. But for this one right here, this is just on Christopher Plummer's filmography that highlights every single thing that he has actually worked on. And there is a lot of major notable ones, especially a lot of stuff that he was nominated for, and even winning awards, including the one movie where he actually did win an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for the 2010 movie Beginners. And of course, this is also this is not to not to forget like plenty of the other things that he has done as well. Probably his big breakthrough role that really made him a Hollywood legend, first of all, is the 1965 classic film The Sound of Music, where he played Captain George Von Trapp next to Julie Andrews. And Sound of Music, I'm sure at this point, is a movie that most, if not everyone, has seen so far and are definitely familiar with the role of George Von Trapp. So that is definitely and easily one of his most memorable roles right there. And not to mention, like, following afterwards, he would go on to actually play a lot of, not only bring out a lot of memorable performances, but even play a lot of memorable, noteworthy figures as well, where he actually played the role of Rudyard Kipling in the 1975 film, The Man Who Would Be King. And then he also played Sherlock Holmes at one point in the 1979 film, Murder by Decree. But then again, this is not to mention that he is also well known in the field of animation for providing his voice in several different animated projects, with his animation debut being the role of Henri in An American Tail. You might remember in the Don Bluth film where he actually played the role of the pigeon, who was kind of like the supervisor of the Statue of Liberty when it was being built in New York City. So he actually did play that part, and you might remember it was actually a very charming and lovable part, and one of the few characters out there that actually did help out Fievel on his journey to go and reunite with his family after he fell from the boat. And then there are plenty of other ones. For the most part, he was actually a narrator in plenty of different works, and especially for a lot of animated works as well. Most noteworthy do include The Tin Soldier, The Man Who Planted Trees, which was an animated short that actually did win an Oscar. There was also The Gnome's Great Adventures, and of course, he was also the voice of the narrator in Madeleine. You might remember in Madeleine, whether it be the series or even the movie Lost in Paris, he was actually the narrator for Madeleine in general. There might have been others as well, but probably one of the most well-known narrators out there was Christopher Plummer. But then following afterwards, you also got plenty of many memorable roles as well, including he was in Star Trek 6, where he played as General Chang. He was in Malcolm X. He was in 12 Monkeys. He was in The Insider, A Beautiful Mind, Inside Man, National Treasure. Also, just want to quickly mention that An American Tale was not the only time that he collaborated with Don Bluth, because he was also known as the Grand Duke of Owls in Rockadoodle, which, other than the animation, honestly, Christopher Plummer was the only good thing in that movie. Like, I still stand by Rockadoodle is possibly the worst Don Bluth film out there. Yes, even more than Thumbelina, Anna Troll, and Central Park. But at least with the Grand Duke of Owls, it is something. At least, you know what I mean? But yes, moving forward, like, he definitely did do a lot of different roles. Also playing as Barnaby Crookedman in the 1997 animated film Babes in Toyland. Already did a lot of the roles that I have mentioned before. But also when it comes to his animated roles, how can we not forget about probably his most well-known animated performance, playing the role of Charles Muntz in the Pixar film Up, where he actually played a pretty solid villain in that movie. And I know nowadays a lot of people would complain about how Disney is doing way too many twist villains and stuff like that, but Charles Muntz is actually one of the very few that is actually effective when it comes to a twist villain and becoming a serious threat to our heroes in that movie. So he was definitely definitely one of the better Disney villains out there, and definitely one of the best animated twist villains. But then continuing on, once we start entering into the 2010s. Oh, and also before I continue, I almost forgot to mention that he was also in other animated features films around the same time as Up as well, where he was in the movie My Dog Tulip, and he was also in the movie 9, where he actually played the role of One. Following afterwards, though, he did appear in plenty of other feature films and a lot of animated films as well, where he was the voice of Dr. West in the Howard Lovecraft movies. He was also the Pixie King in the animated film Pixies. He was he actually did do a few Christian projects as well, and one of the more noteworthy ones include being the voice of King Herod in the animated film The Star from Sony Animation. And this also includes, like, with some of the other ones he did, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. He was also in Knives Out, of course, and of course, one of the more well-known things he did recently do was All the Money in the World, where he actually got an Oscar nomination. And on top of that, probably the most well-known thing about it was that for All the Money in the World, Christopher Plummer was the one that actually replaced Kevin Spacey after he got his massive controversy. And from then on, it kind of became a trend, or kind of like a little bit of a meme for a few years about Christopher Plummer replacing Kevin Spacey, or like whenever a troubled person got fired or stuff like that, they would end up being replaced by Christopher Plummer. Like, I'm sure someone in the animation field probably did a joke that after John Lasseter got kicked out of at Disney, chances are he would actually be replaced by Christopher Plummer. Like, I'm sure someone might have done that joke out there. But as you could tell, Christopher Plummer has appeared in so many amazing films throughout the years. And this is just movies, by the way. This is not even counting like the numerous of TV shows that he has done throughout his career, or even some of the theatrical productions that he has done, whether it be like on Broadway or even like in Canada as well, where like one thing that I've recently learned is that this dude loves to hang out at Stratford, which is like kind of like the Canadian capital of theater, and also a little bit of video games as well, where for the most part, it was either to be Charles Muntz in some Up projects, or to be as General Chang for Star Trek Klingon Academy, or even actually having a role as how do you say this? Arngeir. He played a role in Skyrim. Yeah, okay, that's what I wanted to say. He was in Skyrim. But as you could tell, like he definitely has such a prolific and admirable career. And one thing I got to say about Christopher Plummer is that this is an actor's actor. This is the actor that people wish to be. Because this is a guy that across, like, not just across years, but across generations, this man has provided some amazing and beautifully talented performances to the point that it's just admirable that he could be solid, like, movie after movie, giving out his all for each one of them. And on top of that, the fact, and plus the fact that he would even go and, like, even break the age barrier, where, like, he would still go strong even as he would grow older. Because often with actors, sometimes, like, they would have, like, their own age, and then suddenly they would just drop off of popularity when they would be a little bit too old. It's like, oh, they envisioned the person as, like, more of a young rebel and stuff like that, but then suddenly they would be ultimately dropped off. But then when it comes to Christopher Plummer, on the other hand, no, like, honestly, like even, like, starting from the late 1950s and then moving onwards, like, he just kept on going with movie after movie, show after show. Like he was a highly wanted actor for so long, and with so many people hoping to bring him to their projects. And often the results actually turn out to be amazing. And not just the factor that like, his performances are great, but even there have been plenty of stories out there where the man himself is often considered a gentle giant, where even though this dude is a massive legend in the industry, he is still someone who is highly admired and someone who is highly respectable. Like, if you approach him, like, he'll totally be cool with it. Depending on the circumstances, but he is definitely, like, from the stories that have been told about Christopher Plummer, he is absolutely a nice guy. And honestly, it is a little bit sad, but honestly, this is a case where I feel like this is bittersweet, where Christopher Plummer achieved a life that a lot of people definitely wish that they could have. Where over the years, you got this one guy who would just give it his all, no matter how old he is, or no matter, like, what project it would be. Like, he would just go at it nonstop, regardless of how he feels or regardless of his age. And, like, even, like, just keep on acting and just keep on doing what he loves until his death. And even when it comes to his death, that is also something that is bittersweet. Like, yeah, it's sad to see him go, but then again, it is nice to know that this guy actually lived a full life, that he lived over 90, and that his death was just of natural causes, that he just died peacefully in I don't know if he passed away peacefully in his sleep, but that he did pass away peacefully. And honestly, the more that I do look up into Christopher Plummer, the more that I just have nothing but admiration. And yeah, for any actor out there, this is a guy that people should look up to, and some people should aspire to be, to always to always go and give it their all, and to always keep on going, like, not just across not just across the years, and not just be like a one trick pony or anything, but just across the decades as well. So yeah, it is sad to see him go, but then again, I just feel like, you know what? Nah, Christopher Plummer deserves it. He lived a full life. He lived a great life, and he lived a life in which should be admired, and should be something that people aspire to have. So may Christopher Plummer rest in peace, and may your legacy still continue on, rather it be something that's as old as The Sound of Music, or something that is even as recent as Up. All right, so with that said and done now, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to go and ask you guys, actually, how do you personally feel about Christopher Plummer. And do you have any stories that you would like to share related to a favorite scene that you might have with Christopher Plummer? Like, what is your favorite scene from him? What is your favorite role that he played? You know, what's something that you would consider to be highly memorable? Let me know what you think. Okay, so let's see now. What do we have here? A naive Torontonian and an accomplished actor. A native Torontonian and an accomplished actor. Sorry about that. Sound of Music is one of my mom's all-time favorite movies. My condolences to the friends and family of Christopher Plummer. By the way, in 1997's Babes in Toyland, which in my opinion is superior to the 1961 live-action Disney movie, unlike The Sound of Music, where his singing was dubbed by Bill Lee from The Mellow Men, Plummer actually did get to sing a song called A Crooked Man as Barnaby. I highly recommend that you check it out. Okay, yeah, definitely worth checking. Like, I will admit that Babes in Toyland movie was something that I keep on hearing from time to time, but never checked it out myself. But maybe with the association of Christopher Plummer, it could give me a consideration. It's like, yeah, maybe I should see it. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Okay, I'll go with you. He was quite an achiever, getting awards and nominations well into his 80s. And as you mentioned, he lived a full life and career. He has done a multitude of roles on stage and screen, a thespian to the end. He will be missed. He will be remembered as Muntz from the Disney Pixar flick Up, amongst other roles as well. Very nice, dude. Very nice comment there. If I had to name my favorite Christopher Plummer role, come on, Charles Muntz is easily the best of the lot. But even at that, Plummer was a legendary actor who gave his all even in his bad movies. So with that, Godspeed, Christopher Plummer. Yeah, that is especially the case with Rockadoodle, where, like I said before, yeah, that like for me, I still find it to be one of, if not the worst Don Bluth movie. But at least Christopher Plummer was actually enjoyable as the Grand Duke of Owls. Let's see now. I'll go with you. This is definitely a heartbreaking death. For me, I'll never forget. Let's see. For me, I'll never forget his performance as Charles Muntz in Up, and prove how twist villains can work well. And his performance in Sound of Music will always be memorable. So all I have to say is rest in peace, Christopher Plummer. Your legacy will live on forever. Let's see what else we got. To lose such an amazing actor is depressing, but we should also celebrate him for his kind soul and all the performances he gave to us all. I am glad that he passed away peacefully instead of illness. May you rest in peace, Christopher. As for my favorite performance, I would easily say Charles Muntz. Yeah, I think it's no secret that we got a bunch of Up fans in here. Oh, boy. What else do we have here? The Sound of Music was one of my favorite musicals. Even Mary Poppins herself, Julie Andrews, responded to this tragedy that this is one of two Rodgers and Hammerstein movie musicals that I have. The other that I got for Christmas last year being Oklahoma. And actually, Matt, it's pronounced Madeline. Long, not short. Oh, long L, not long L, not short. Well, I don't know, because the thing is, with Madeleine, there are different pronunciations. Like, technically, it's a French thing. So, like, when you say it in French, it's Madeleine. But in English, I know it's like Madeline or something like that. So keep in mind that that's just part of my French heritage that's just coming out, or my French-Canadian heritage that's making me say Madeleine. You know, it's kind of like where everybody says Tintin. Often I would say Tintin, because Tintin is how you say it in Quebec. All right, I'll go and read one more comment before we jump into the next story right here. Let's see now. Do we have one more? Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, there we go. This is the fourth celebrity death this year besides Sidley Tyson, Cloris Leachman, and Larry King, but this is absolutely devastating. Sound of Music was never one of my favorite musicals, but you can't deny the impact he made in that movie as far as his animated works. Up is probably the best performance, and I actually just watched the movie the other day. May he rest in peace, and remember that adventure is out there. Yeah, and definitely what a good way of concluding this story here. That adventure is certainly out there. All right. Now, with that out of the way, let's go and discuss about our next story. And we're going to lift up the mood a little bit because we're going to be talking about something that so far seems to be pretty anticipated. A lot of people are very much excited for this show to come out soon, but maybe the reason why people are probably excited for it is going to be a little bit different than you might possibly think. And what I'm going to be talking about is related to Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, it was actually revealed that Sonic the Hedgehog is officially going to be getting his own Netflix series, where Sega and Netflix are going to be collaborating together for a show called Sonic Prime, and it will be coming out next year in 2022, just in time for the franchise's 30th anniversary. However, one important thing to go and note is that Sega and Netflix are not going to be doing this alone. They actually going to be working with a few other extra groups and companies as well, including WildBrain, along with Man of Action. And you might remember Man of Action being the same group of people that brought us Ben 10 and the original comics of Big Hero 6. And for those of you who might not necessarily know what Sonic Prime might be all about, then you probably have heard about those memes that people have been making related to Sonic the Hedgehog, where they kind of made fun that, oh, we're going to have like an Into the Sonicverse or something like that. But the reason for that, I'm going to go and read from my source here on Deadline. It states, according to Netflix, the 24-episode animated adventure aimed at kids 6 to 11 will feature the 30-year-old Blue Blur character in a high-octane adventure where the fate of a strange new multiverse rests in his gloved hands. But it's more than a race to save the universe. It's a journey of self-discovery and redemption. So that's pretty much the big thing, is that this is going to be a Sonic series that's going to be dealing with multiverses. Now, what is that going to mean? Well, we'll have to wait and see until next year. But by the way, we actually do have a few quotes that I would like to read here. The first one coming from Ivo Jurskovic, the chief brand officer at Sega, in which Ivo states, Sonic the Hedgehog is a global entertainment icon that has captivated audiences since its video game debut in 1991. With over 1.14 billion game units sold and downloaded to date, an exciting feature film, a robust licensing program, and more, Sega's iconic Hedgehog continues to surprise and delight audiences worldwide. We're thrilled to partner with WildBrain, Man of Action Entertainment, and Netflix to speed into this new animated chapter in the Sonic franchise. We also got another quote here coming from Josh Sherba, the president of WildBrain, where Josh states, with generations of devoted fans around the world, Sonic the Hedgehog is more popular today than ever before, and we're thrilled to be partnering with Netflix, Sega, and Man of Action to deliver all new Sonic adventures for audiences worldwide. This premium franchise is ideally suited to WildBrain's capabilities, and it's already inspiring great things from our talented creative team. We've witnessed firsthand the enduring popularity of this brand from the strong and steadily global demand for our library of legacy Sonic series. We look forward now to bring fresh and exciting Sonic content to fans both new and old. So that's pretty much the big thing that we got here with this Sonic series. It's not just going to be a new Sonic series that we're going to get. This isn't going to be something like what we previously had with something like Sonic Sat AM or Sonic X or whatever. This is going to be a little bit more different, where this is going to be a Sonic series that is going to be based on multiverses. And from what I could tell, a lot of people, especially Sonic fans, are actually really excited to see if this is going to be something that will honor Sonic's legacy, especially when this is something that will deal with multiverses. What they are thinking is that maybe this will be something that will be in the veins of something like Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, where the whole multiverse idea will actually be inspiring them to go and honor Sonic's legacy, where we will see Sonic the Hedgehog, or at least the Sonic Prime version of Sonic. They will go, like, he's going to go and meet up with other past Sonic the Hedgehogs, rather it be like the Sonic Adventure Sonic, or maybe classic Sonic, or maybe even like from past shows, like maybe the Sonic X Sonic, or like the Sonic from the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, you never know. Like, maybe they'll meet up with like different Sonics, and maybe we'll have like a bit of a maybe something similar to Sonic Generations, where we will have a little bit of that combination and meetup of different types of Sonics that will pay homage to the whole legacy of Sonic the Hedgehog, dating back to like the beginning of the 90s, where we do see games like on the Sega Master System and stuff like that. So there is that possibility that we could see that. But then again, the synopsis of the story does seem pretty vague, but it's just the idea of what they could do with Sonic and multiverses, if it really is that kind of idea. But I think I could guarantee you that there is actually one thing that people would probably be highly anticipating for, that they really want to see coming from this Sonic series in particular. And it's not necessarily the different multiverses or any specific Sonic the Hedgehog that they really want to see. What they're highly anticipating for is who's going to be the next Sonic. You might remember last week when it was revealed that I believe Roger Craig Smith announced that he would no longer be the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog after playing him for several years. So eventually we are going to be getting a brand new Sonic. But the question is, who is it going to be? Some people are petitioning and hoping that maybe Ben Schwartz will take on the Sonic role for not just the movies, but also for the whole franchise in general. Maybe they're going to get a new guy. But the biggest thing that I'm sure people are really going to keep an eye on is going to be who's going to be the new voice of Sonic. Now, then again, it is true that technically, Sega might pull off something that would be similar to what Disney has done with Kermit the Frog, where after Steve Whitmire was kicked out from the Muppet team, they would go and replace him with Matt Vogel. And a lot of people were highly anticipating of how Kermit the Frog would sound, or how Kermit the Frog is going to be now that he has a new Muppeteer. And often, like, I know with that one specifically, the results are a little bit controversial, where some are cool with it and some are massively upset that Matt Vogel doesn't sound like the Kermit that they remember from the days of either Steve Whitmire or Jim Henson or stuff like that. Like, I know that is a controversial decision, but in the case of Sonic, what I do know is that this is really going to be something that people will keep an eye on. And maybe Sega is going to post like a few little test videos to present the new Sonic the Hedgehog, or at least the new Sonic the Hedgehog voice. But what I do know is that for next year, that's going to be the first major debut of the new Sonic voice that we are going to hear, not just for the series, but also for the video games as well. So that's going to be something that people will be anticipating for sure. And also, I just want to add at the same time, like, I don't know what caused it, or I don't know what happened, but I did see, like, momentarily that I think there might have been some rumors that suggested that they might have gotten a new Dr. Eggman or something like that, but then Mike Pollock confirmed that he is still staying as Dr. Robotnik / Dr. Eggman. So they're still going to keep him on board, so at least he's still the same Eggman that many people all remembered and many people love. But when it comes to Sonic, we're going to get a new one, and that is something we will have to wait and see with how that's going to go. So overall, it does seem pretty interesting. And I do understand that when it comes to WildBrain, it is true that they might have some varying results per se, especially when they would try to go and adapt some video games. I think previously, just recently, they might have tried to do this Mega Man animated series, but that just sounded like something that really came and went quickly. But I understand with the association of WildBrain, that might get some iffy results. But the fact that they do have Man of Action, I can imagine that with Sonic Prime, they could actually go into something that could be a lot more action packed and really pick up the intensity much more than what we have probably seen in some of the past Sonic series. So it might actually turn out to be cool. But I know that this is going to be something like, either way, if it'll turn out good, it'll turn out bad, we'll have to wait and see. But I know for a fact that this is actually going to be a show that a lot of people are going to be keeping an eye on. And again, we don't know specifically when it's going to be coming out, but we do know that Netflix is planning on releasing it in 2022. And since it's going to be around the same time as Sonic's 30th anniversary, we'll see how it goes from there. But I know that a lot of Sonic fans are already hyping up, even though we are still just starting 2021. Okay, so with that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you guys, what do you all think about Sonic Prime? Is it something that you guys are highly anticipating for? Are you guys excited for Sonic Prime? Are there any concerns that you would like to know about? Let me know what you think. Yeah, hold on a sec. Need to get my drink of water before I comment. Let's see now. I'm afraid who is going to voice Sonic. I really hope it's not some random celebrity who doesn't even sound close to that character. For example, Will Forte as Shaggy in Scoob. But I'm still excited for Sonic Prime to come out. Hashtag Sonic meets Sonic from Sonic 06. Yeah, no, I'm just going to say right now, I don't think they're going to get a celebrity for this, mainly because of the fact that if they would get a celebrity, they wouldn't really have that much time. Like, yeah, in the case of Scoob, they really did mess up bringing in random actors that sound nothing like their respected character, especially with Will Forte as Shaggy. Like, I get that problem, but that is just a movie. It's not like they brought in those celebrities to fully commit to stay as those characters. I think for the next Sonic, it's not going to be like a major A-list celebrity. They're just going to go and try to find someone who can actually commit to the role of Sonic and to play him not just for Sonic Prime, but also for the Sonic games and for other Sonic products. So I think it's mostly going to be that. So I think you can relax on that concern. Let's see. As a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, I know I'm rooting for this series, but there's just one problem though. Who will voice Sonic now that Roger Craig Smith is out of the picture? I'm thinking either Ben Schwartz or, if in any case, Jason Griffith might make a comeback. But those are just my thoughts on who will voice Sonic. I'm actually looking forward to the series, and it did say that it might be like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse due to the concept saying that it has a Sonic the Hedgehog multiverse. Yeah, well, I'm just going to say, like, since people are concerned and they're thinking about it, I'm just going to say right now, I think there could be a good chance that it might not be someone that you would know or someone that you would immediately guess. Like, maybe they're going to bring in a familiar name to go and be the new voice of Sonic, but I don't think it's going to be someone that you can immediately go and guess right now. I know a lot of people are currently guessing Ben Schwartz, and that could be a possibility, but if you're expecting, like, maybe someone from the past to come back and actually voice Sonic the Hedgehog, I think at that point you might be mistaken. I don't think that's actually going to happen. Let's see what else we got here. As a Sonic fan, I am certainly interested in this show. The idea of Sonic traveling through the multiverse sounds rather fun, and we might not just see characters from the previous shows, but also characters and levels from many of the other Sonic games. We already have seen some dimension jumping in Sonic Mania, so who knows what we will see. Oh, and then someone also additionally riot. If Eggman doesn't say Pingus, we riot. Yes. Yeah. Honestly, that is one thing that I am hoping for. Like, just include at least one Pingus in Sonic Prime, and then we'll be good to go. Here, have your 10 out of 10. Like, that would be something I would love to see. Let's see now. I'm only a moderate Sonic fan since I only played the original game and I only seen the Sonic movie, but this is a really cool idea. I like the idea of placing Sonic into a giant assortment of dimensions is really creative, so I'll probably check it out once it hits, as long as we get to see Jim Carrey interact with Mike Pollock. Oh, I think that would actually be awesome. If they could just, like, maybe not necessarily, like, just have, like, that crossover in general, but just, like, that one episode at least, where, like, it is Sonic facing against the Jim Carrey Dr. Robotnik. That would actually be cool. I mean, like, we all know Jim Carrey is one of, if not the best thing about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, so having him reprise his role for this series, that would actually be awesome. Oh, that would definitely be worth a watch. Let's see what else we got here. Did I? Okay, I'll go and read these two before I jump into the final one. I'm very excited for this. While I'm not a huge fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, I could see how this could potentially honor Sonic's legacy. Also, I'm just happy that Sonic is just being looked more in a positive light again. Also, 2022 is going to be a very busy year for Sonic because of Sonic Prime, Sonic's 30th anniversary, and the Sonic sequel coming out next year, depending on the pandemic. Oh, I can guarantee you it ain't happening. It ain't gonna be for freaking 2022. Like, I think that thing has already been pushed back to, like, 2023 or something like that. You cannot expect Sonic to return to theaters or stuff like that in 2022. No. You gotta be a little bit more patient than that. Alright, I'll read my final quote before, my final comment before we jump into the final story. As a casual Sonic fan, this show seems interesting. This show does sound like Into the Sonicverse, and interested if they are doing either weird alternative Sonics or actual Sonics from the games, TV shows, comics, and the movie. I'm also hoping that Ben Schwartz takes over the role of Sonic. Also, if this is for the 30th anniversary, why are they releasing it next year? When the anniversary is this year. Is it this year? No, like, isn't it actually... Oh, no, actually, no, you are correct. Holy crap. Wow. Okay, so that might have been a mistake on that part. Yeah, it is true. Okay, so, yeah, the 30th anniversary is this year, but they're releasing it in 2022. Probably, I don't know, maybe it's just timing and stuff like that, so... Okay, yeah, sorry if I made that mistake, by the way. Okay, so yeah, it's probably, so yeah, if you are excited to go and check out Sonic Prime, then all you have to do is wait after the 30th anniversary in 2022. I don't know why. For some reason, I thought it was like I thought Sonic was from 1992. I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, I know that 1992 is actually a very significant year in gaming where a lot of major stuff was released, especially like with, it was Kirby's anniversary as well. So that's why I got a little bit of that mistake. So sorry about that. But anyways, yes, it is now time that we shall jump onto the grand finale. And for this one, I might have to go a little bit more serious on this one, mainly because of the fact that I just need to go and make a little bit of a statement. Because, as you guys know, I am an internet personality that commonly expresses his opinions. In fact, that's mainly my job, to go and talk about my opinions, rather it be on social media, rather it be on my YouTube videos, especially in my reviews, or even in this podcast right here. And often it can be quite a dirty job, because often you have to face some angry people who would disagree with your opinions. And whenever people on the internet hear an opinion that they disagree on, often they will do whatever they can in order to really take down that comment, and will really try to sully your name in an attempt to try to in order to discredit the opinion that you have expressed. I know that throughout the years, for someone like me, like, people have often tried to take me down for whatever little comment that I might have. Like, rather it be on serious social issues, like in politics, or even if it's just to talk about my opinion on a little kid's film, a lot of people would be so upset at me because I expressed that opinion live on the internet, and they would often leave down some nasty comments like, "How dare you say that thing? You're too stupid. You don't know what you're freaking talking about. You're just being angry over nothing. Why don't you actually do some proper research on what you're saying?" And honestly, this is something that I know that this will happen nonstop. In fact, even when this year has started, like even recently, I have gotten some crap over opinions that I have expressed in this podcast and even in some of my reviews and stuff like that. So that is something that I am very well familiar with people getting angry at me just because I'm just expressing my opinions. But now, it is time that we go and turn the tables on this, where now it is actually proven that it's actually the internet commentators that are actually angry over nothing and are too stupid and just being upset over things that they obviously don't know what they are talking about. And what I'm referring to specifically is actually regarding Kamp Koral. Now, I know I've talked about this so much, about Kamp Koral, that down to the point where some people might be fed up about hearing about Kamp Koral so much that they just want to move on. But why is it that I want to talk about Kamp Koral in this case? Well, believe it or not, recently, a massive claim about the show has seemed to probably be debunked. And what I'm talking about is probably the biggest reason why people hate Kamp Koral in the first place is the massive claim that Stephen Hillenburg did not approve, would never approve of Kamp Koral. That Stephen Hillenburg completely disagrees about the idea of any SpongeBob spin-offs, and that Nickelodeon waited until Stephen Hillenburg died until they could actually go and actually make more SpongeBob spin-offs. And the reason why this has actually changed, this actually all started when there was a leak that was released online. This was for an animated short called I'm Urging You to Leave, which was a Kamp Koral short that was originally meant for the DVD and Blu-ray of the SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run, to give audiences more of a little preview of the upcoming animated series Kamp Koral. But the big thing that a lot of people had taken from that animated series in particular is actually in the title, where you do see the title of I'm Urging You to Leave, and then it would say a Kamp Koral short. But notice when it says a Kamp Koral short, it actually says something very interesting in the bottom. Here, I'll actually, yeah, there you go. You'll see it much better here, where it actually states, created by Stephen Hillenburg. That's an interesting credit to put out there, because usually when it comes to these credits, like normally they would say, like if they're going to credit the creator, normally they would just say, based on the characters by Stephen Hillenburg. They would say something like that. But this is not what happened here. Instead, they legit full-on just said that this short was created by Stephen Hillenburg. An interesting credit, I must say. But then on top of that, when that was leaked, a lot of people have actually made even more interesting discoveries that would actually connect Stephen Hillenburg with Kamp Koral. And another one is actually related to Sponge on the Run, the movie itself, where Stephen Hillenburg was also credited in there, but not because of based on the characters or based on the series created by this guy or anything. Stephen Hillenburg was actually credited as an executive producer. And we all know that when it comes to Sponge on the Run, that was in production even before Stephen Hillenburg passed away. And you guys know that when it comes to Sponge on the Run, that is where the idea of Kamp Koral actually came from. That's where they actually introduced the whole concept of Kamp Koral and the idea of seeing SpongeBob and the gang when they were kids in the middle of a camp. That's pretty much where the whole idea and the whole concept, where that actually came from. And yet, Stephen Hillenburg was also credited as an executive producer for that one. So now the plot thickens at this point, that maybe there is a stronger connection than we thought. But then suddenly, the closest confirmation we got actually did occur this week, where on Twitter, one of the executive producers and one of the showrunners, Vincent Waller, actually answered a question from a fan related to Stephen Hillenburg's connection to Kamp Koral. The person in question would go and ask, did Stephen Hillenburg make Kamp Koral SpongeBob's under years before he died? A few screenshots appeared on the Art of SpongeBob's account, and in November of 2019, I didn't know this until now, Ramsey Nato revealed that Steve was involved before he died, in which Vincent Waller says, and I quote, "Steve was aware that it was being developed. Sadly, he did not get to see some of it, he did not get to see it complete. I think it would make him smile." So that's pretty much the big thing, that now we are actually getting more and more evidence that Steve Hillenburg was not only aware, but he might have approved of Kamp Koral, despite all the claims that he wouldn't have allowed this. And honestly, when I first heard of this, when I first saw like all the, when all these things and when all these evidence emerged about Stephen Hillenburg's connection with Kamp Koral, honestly, it got me a little bit upset. Because I'm just going to say this right now. I was one of the first people out there to actually doubt the claims that Stephen Hillenburg would not have allowed Kamp Koral. You might have remembered years ago, back like when Kamp Koral was like first announced and when the controversy really erupted, that people were immediately upset and automatically making those claims of like, oh, Stephen Hillenburg would never approve of this. He stated that he doesn't want any spin-offs and And I was one of the first ones to actually say, hold on a minute. None of you guys know who Stephen Hillenburg actually is. You don't know if he actually wanted to approve of this. Like, I was one of those first ones, you might remember. Now, I will admit that later on, eventually over time, I myself did actually believe in those claims because Nickelodeon, nor did anyone in the Kamp Koral team, actually stated anything about it or made any form of confirmation. So, eventually I did think myself that maybe people were right and that Nickelodeon did try to go and push Kamp Koral and the other spin-offs after Stephen Hillenburg died. But no, it turns out that my first instincts were actually freaking correct. And that and I remember even back then when I disagreed with many people about the whole claims about Stephen Hillenburg, that people did get upset at me about it. And honestly, it really does feel like now that we got these evidence, it's like the more you think about it now, the more you think about those claims, like the more you realize those claims about Stephen Hillenburg not wanting to approve something like Kamp Koral, like they really are dumb. Like there really is no form of base to actually support these claims. I would actually say that they are almost baseless. Like, I know, sure, a lot of people really were dependent on the one SpongeBob writer who pretty much acted like all the angry trolls on the internet be like, oh, Steven wouldn't never approve of this show. Yeah, like, that, I will give it to them, that was their strongest form of evidence. I don't know if he was actually working on SpongeBob back then or if he was still working on Nickelodeon, but he would like that was their strongest piece of evidence that they believed that Stephen Hillenburg would not have approved something like Kamp Koral. But then there were actually a few others, a few other claims as well, where when you think about it, they are too far-fetched and there is no solid evidence of that. Like, one example is regarding the whole claim about Nickelodeon's intentions, about Nickelodeon waiting for Stephen Hillenburg to die so that they could go and immediately make all the spin-offs that they want with SpongeBob. Like, when you do think about it, yes, I will give it to you that the timing of it all, it was actually very weak. It is true that the timing is actually of poor taste, and they should have announced that maybe a little bit after Stephen Hillenburg passed away. Like, I'll give it to you that the timing was actually bad. But we don't actually have any form of legitimate proof that this actually was the case. We don't have solid evidence that Nickelodeon actually waited for Stephen Hillenburg to pass away so that they could go and make all the reboots and all the spin-offs that they want related to SpongeBob. There is no factual evidence of that. And then there is also another piece that a lot of people use heavily as their evidence that Stephen Hillenburg wouldn't want this, and that is actually from a quote himself stating that he doesn't want any sequels. That yes, it is true that Stephen Hillenburg stated that he wouldn't want any form of SpongeBob spin-offs or anything like that. He just want to keep SpongeBob SquarePants in SpongeBob SquarePants. He said that, but he said that literally like years ago. I think like back in 2009. Do you not think that it would ever happen that when it comes to Stephen Hillenburg, that maybe he would eventually change his mind in a few years? Like, you don't think that it actually happened? Do you honestly think that the one thing he said in 2009, that he would literally carry it with him across, like, over the years until he would pass away? Do you not think that suddenly he would change his mind and be more open about spin-offs about SpongeBob SquarePants? Like, really think about this. Because here's an example that would immediately debunk that theory. Technically, Stephen Hillenburg did openly state at one point that he would not want a SpongeBob SquarePants movie. And yet, lo and behold, in 2004, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie happened with Stephen Hillenburg directing it himself. He actually ended up changing his mind when it comes to the idea of a SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Or then there is another example where after the SpongeBob movie, Stephen Hillenburg decided to leave SpongeBob SquarePants, that he didn't want to go and work on it anymore. And you'd think that this would be the last time Stephen Hillenburg would work on SpongeBob, right? No, it wasn't until about a decade later where he would return, where not only he would work on the show, but he would also really help out with the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, Sponge Out of Water. There is also that moment as well that Stephen Hillenburg did, thus proving that there is a history that, yes, Stephen Hillenburg might have said one thing in the past, but then eventually he would go and change his mind. And this would also go and apply to the idea of spin-offs. And there is some strong evidence right now that we have seen that actually proved that Stephen Hillenburg would want this rather than not. And that's honestly the sad thing about all these claims. It's just that they're all practically baseless. Right now, we actually have so much more we have stronger evidence that show that Stephen Hillenburg would be more for Kamp Koral than he would be against it. And I know, I might sound like I'm actually pretty much heating up about this whole story, but the reason why I'm doing so is because when you really do think about it, the whole idea and the whole theory about Stephen Hillenburg not approving of Kamp Koral, that is actually that is the core of the hate on Kamp Koral. That is the main reason why people hate Kamp Koral and gave it so much backlash, despite the fact that the show wouldn't be released until about a month later. That's the big reason why I just feel a little why I kind of feel mad about this, because it's all based on a theory that ends up being proven to be, or it's most likely proven to be, just a flat out lie. Now, I just want to state this right now, that I'm not taking away your feelings towards Kamp Koral. You can have whatever opinion you want on the show, or at least we have enough of an opinion to have our first impressions of the series, especially when we got a lot of new pictures that came out related to the series. We had our first look a few weeks ago. You can have that, but the whole basis about Stephen Hillenburg and not wanting something like Kamp Koral to happen, that is something you got to let go, because there are signs that are proven to be not true about that. That right now, it seems more and more false right now. And honestly, I'm not just upset about the fans going after something like Kamp Koral, but honestly, I'm also upset at Nickelodeon and the crew at Kamp Koral. Because let's be honest, this was something that you guys knew this whole time. You knew that Stephen Hillenburg was actually involved with this project, yet you decided to not say anything about it, and you let this backlash flourish for about 2 years? You couldn't have said that any time sooner. You couldn't have said that any time before or anything like that? Now, the one person that I will say that I will give a pass to, the one person that like I will understand for not saying it sooner would actually be Vincent Waller. He actually did give out a good explanation on that in order while responding to his own answer, in which he actually states, when I said that last night, I was feeling it was right, but full disclosure, that time period was so much traumatic scar tissue for me. I have lost 2 friends to death in a short amount of time, and it has kinked up my chronological memories of events into a bit of a slippery jumble for that entire block of time. Okay, so at that point, I will give Vincent Waller a pass because at that time, it was very traumatic for him because he lost 2 good friends of his in a very short amount of time. And I'm sure during that moment, like, that could really mess up with your head. So it is pretty much understandable that if looking back at that time, he wouldn't immediately think about, was Stephen Hillenburg involved with Kamp Koral or anything like that? No, he was pretty much in the mindset of, holy crap, that was the time when 2 of my friends have passed away, and that felt like a very dark moment in my own life. So for that, I'll give Vincent Waller a pass because he has his own personal excuse. But for everyone else, especially for Nickelodeon, like, what the fridge have you guys been waiting for? Okay, I do get it that technically it could just be a vocal minority compared to the millions of people that still watch SpongeBob SquarePants to this day. I get that. But don't you think that saying it sooner would have actually really helped out in terms of the PR, instead of dealing with the PR nightmare, the amount of damage that has caused to what audiences view towards Nickelodeon and stuff like that over years, like over the 2 years ever since Stephen Hillenburg's passing? Don't you think it would have actually helped if you said something sooner to actually calm people's heads about the situation? I'm just asking. It's just ridiculous. And I feel like this whole situation was not only poorly handled by fans, but it was also poorly handled by the crew at Nickelodeon and even Nickelodeon themselves. I just feel like it's so ridiculous, and all it does is just massive amount of damage, all based on what's basically a lie. Because now that we are at the point where we see more evidence that Steve Hillenburg was actually involved with Kamp Koral, more so than just being against it, this really is all just based on a massive lie. And I feel like right now, with this whole Kamp Koral controversy, it really does prove 2 things. Like, there are 2 major lessons that we should take from this. Number 1 is how a lie can really cause some serious damage. Because you gotta keep in mind, Kamp Koral is coming out next month. Like, by the time I'm recording this, Kamp Koral is ready to be released on Paramount Plus next month. That is not enough time to go and repair the damage that has been caused over the years because of the theory about Stephen Hillenburg that he might not have approved something like Kamp Koral, and the image of Nickelodeon being this evil corporation waiting until Stephen Hillenburg would die so that they would go and make their spin-offs like Kamp Koral. And especially when you do think about it, especially like with the arguments that are against Kamp Koral, they are practically they are baseless. Like another example that I could think of about a lie causing so much damage is honestly, or like one that, like a lie that has caused damage in recent years is honestly the Capitol riots last month. Now, I just want to state right now, of course, the Kamp Koral controversy is not even a fraction as bad as what happened to the Capitol riots, where Donald Trump encouraged all his fans to go and cause violence and to cause some serious harm to the Capitol, make some serious property damage, even to the point of killing a cop, in the desperate attempt to overrule democracy, to pretty much take down democracy, to keep Donald Trump as a Hitler-like fascist dictator. Like, yeah, I will state that right now. But the thing is, like, the reason why I do bring up the Capitol riots is that this is another example that is actually all based on a lie. That all those Trump supporters were just doing that because all on they were all doing that because it was based on a lie, because they believe that Joe Biden cheated because of voter fraud, that apparently the Democrats committed voter fraud, which ruled in favor for Joe Biden for some reason. Even though they're any mentally functioning human knows that there's no voter fraud. The Democrats did not commit any form of voter fraud or cheated whatsoever to have the election be in favor of Joe Biden. Anyone who does believe in that deserve to go into an insane asylum or deserve to have a lobotomy. In fact, any Trump supporter deserves to have a lobotomy or to go into a freaking insane asylum at this point. But the point is that think about the amount of damage that has actually been done in the Capitol, and that it is all based on a lie. Again, it is not as bad as the Kamp Koral. The Kamp Koral controversy is not as bad as what happened with the Capitol riots with the Trump supporting terrorists, but that's just an example of how a lie can do so much damage. And in the case of Kamp Koral, like right now, people are pretty much in the mindset to instinctively hate the show because of that lie, where people just come in and immediately think, oh, I shouldn't like Kamp Koral. I should hate it like most others because Stephen Hillenburg, the creator of the series, is a much beloved figure and he would not approve of this, even though they don't actually have the legitimate facts. And lesson number two of what we would get from all this, from the whole Kamp Koral controversy, is regarding the fact about SpongeBob fans. That we need to seriously go and discuss and confront the toxicity amongst the SpongeBob fan base. Because right now, with the way SpongeBob fans are acting, they're pretty much SpongeBob fans are pretty much treating Stephen Hillenburg the same way that evangelicals and conservative Christians are treating God and Jesus. Where it's not necessarily that they admire them, it's not necessarily that they fully idolize them, but they're just using them as a tool. They're just using them as a tool to desperately validate their opinions and to go and force it onto others to make them look like they are right in the argument. And you know, the sad truth is that this whole Kamp Koral controversy, that was not the only time that it actually happened. You might remember when at one point Nickelodeon actually did put up the SpongeBob musical, when they decided for one night, for a special televised event, they would show the SpongeBob SquarePants musical, which you guys may remember was actually well received back then and actually did get nominated for some Tonys. But with that said, however, when SpongeBob fans have heard of this, when they were not aware that there was a SpongeBob Broadway musical, they got massively upset, and they would go immediately attack it and use those same claims that they used for Kamp Koral, saying that, oh, Stephen Hillenburg would not allow this. He said he would not want a live-action SpongeBob remake or whatever. He's rolling in his grave. Nickelodeon is desperately cashing in on SpongeBob, and saying all these things and all that kind of stuff. But was that actually the case? No. Because there is actual proof that not only Stephen Hillenburg was aware that the SpongeBob musical exists, but he did actually help out in the project himself and did actually see it and actually really enjoyed it. So that pretty much goes to show that with these SpongeBob fans, like, they're just getting angry over things that they don't know what they're talking about and have not actually done, they have actually not done the proper research in order to do so. And this is something that, honestly, we should have seen this coming, like, with the Kamp Koral thing. We haven't even connect the dots. And yeah, some people could say that, the problem is that the SpongeBob fans idolize Stephen Hillenburg a little bit too much. That could be the case, but honestly, no, that's not, for me, honestly, I don't think that's really idolizing. That, again, that's just using him as a tool. Again, just like how evangelicals would use God and Jesus as a desperate attempt to go and enforce their opinions onto others as a way to make them look like they're more right. Like, oh, I'm objectively correct about this subject, and you need to think like me if you want to be right as well. That's basically the big thing, and that's the toxicity that needs to be confronted and that needs to be talked about regarding the SpongeBob fan base. There is a serious problem within that club right there that is also affecting the cartoon community, and it needs to be brought up and it needs to be discussed, where people are just quickly jumping into conclusions and they're just really going with the flow just for the sake of hating on an animated project. And honestly, I just find all this to be just so ridiculous. And for me personally, it just makes me upset. Again, like, I'll give, again, I just want to emphasize that I am not trying to take away your opinions on Kamp Koral in general. You can have whatever thoughts about the show itself. Even for me personally, I really don't care about it all that much. From the previews and the stuff that we have seen so far from Kamp Koral, I just find it to be unnecessary and I'm not really that interested to go and watch it. But you need to let go of the claims about Stephen Hillenburg not wanting SpongeBob, because now we are at the point that there are more evidence that he did get involved with it and that he did approve and gave his blessing to Kamp Koral more so than the opposite claims. And it's ridiculous because, again, this is just proving the amount of damage that has been done that's all based on a lie, and it's honestly too late to go and fix that. It's really unfortunate, man. Like, it's just ridiculous, and this is a serious problem that, honestly, the whole cartoon community needs to wake up and actually realize that they need to do something and actually change their mindset so they wouldn't go and actually do this again. This is why doing research is important, people, and this is why jumping to conclusions is not a good idea. And this is a serious issue that the cartoon community has, is way too often they would go and jump to conclusions, not just about animated projects, but even about people as well. And for God's sakes, I just want to state right now, unless you know, like, the thing is, fans don't know Stephen Hillenburg personally. Unless you actually do work in the industry, unless you actually do work at Nickelodeon, I'm just going to say it right now, you don't know frickin' Stephen Hillenburg, okay? Unless you can actually prove to me that you actually had a personal relationship with Stephen Hillenburg and you know what he would want and what he wouldn't want. Like, honestly, you cannot go and make those claims that, oh, Stephen Hillenburg wouldn't want this, he would be rolling in his grave. No, that's all freaking bullcrap. You're just making assumptions over a concept that you don't like, over something that you haven't seen yet, and already you're just jumping into conclusions. And again, this is real, like, this isn't just highlighting the serious toxicity within the SpongeBob fan base, but this is also highlighting the serious problem within the cartoon community that all they do is just really jump into conclusions, and unnecessarily jump to conclusions to the point that it's a lot more destructive than it actually is helpful for anyone. Okay, so finally got my whole spiel out there. So, now with that said and done, I would like to go and ask, what do you think about what we have witnessed so far with the whole Kamp Koral controversy? How do you view the whole scenario with Kamp Koral? Do you believe Stephen Hillenburg approved of Kamp Koral? Do you have any opinions about the whole situation? Let me know what you think about this. Okay. Let's see. This really is an eye-opener. As an old-school SpongeBob fan, I did kind of start to agree with these kinds of people. But now that this has come out, I really am starting to regret that decision. While this doesn't change my opinion on the show, and I still think that it looks cheap and I'm not watching it, this just proves that how SpongeBob fanbase can be incredibly toxic, and I do feel ashamed that I was a part of it. And it also proves how SpongeBob fans are becoming Star Wars fans. And by the way, I just want to go and quickly mention that I'm not here to make you feel bad. I'm not here to go and, like, try to make you ashamed of yourself about any of this. That's not my goal at all. I just want you to go and have, like, basically, like this comment states, I want you to have a bit of an eye-opener. To go and actually to actually think how you would go and approach things and not immediately go and jump to conclusions. To actually go and do your proper research. That is something that is also very important, and that I am a firm believer on this. So, like, research is highly important, and if you don't have like proper evidence to your claims, then I'm not going to take you that seriously. I'm not going to say that you're right on this situation. All right, let's see what else here. I did feel bad for Stephen Hillenburg for passing away and everyone trying to sue Nickelodeon for making spin-offs of SpongeBob SquarePants, but I see this news right now. I'm starting to have doubts on him. I have to admit I did love the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, but not the sequels. I didn't realize that Stephen Hillenburg had second thoughts on a spin-off of SpongeBob, and don't forget that they're also developing a talk show hosted by Patrick, which I'm not looking forward to. There are definitely plenty of spin-offs that are currently in the works, and I mean, again, I'm not taking away your opinion on those. Like, you could think that those are stupid ideas, and I do think they're kind of dumb as well. But but the thing is, you can't really go out. The thing is, you can't really go after with the case of like Steven Hillenburg, and especially if you're gonna try to sue Nickelodeon, yeah, freaking good luck with that. Get ready for the freaking shock of your life. What else do we have here? Possible approval of Kamp Koral prior to his death. Where do people get the guts to think whether he did or not? If you people don't have any proof to things like this, then what's the point? Just because you don't think that someone would not approve of things like this, alive or otherwise, just because you think that, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you are on the nose. And in this case, the nose of a sponge. Isn't that right, Matt? Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely agree with you right there, man. You definitely got it with your metaphor. Let's see. This pretty much proves the power of misinformation on the internet. It will spread so fast that many will believe that it is the truth instead of the actual truth. Should have Nickelodeon said something about this earlier? Of course they should have, but don't forget that some fans were also at fault with this. Now, I do feel a bit bad because I did once believe in this. I think at some point everyone did believe in this. Like I said before, I also believe this myself. But now that we did have the evidence, it's like, honestly, like, I'm kind of kicking myself. Like, I'm kind of kicking myself. It's like, dang it, I should have stuck by with my first instinct. It's like, I did say before, like, crap, I was right before. Holy crap. Why did I even change my mind on this? Let's see. I just find this controversy a massive confusion. When Pie Guy Rules made his video regarding this and Paul Tippett tweeting the opposite compared to what Vincent Waller said, I still think the existence of Kamp Koral is pointless and only made for corporate greed than a passion project to the people working on it. Overall, I just wish this could have been clarified this sooner than later, especially for the executives of at Nickelodeon. Yeah, that is exactly the case. Like, yeah, the fans are certainly guilty with their toxicity, along with the problems within the cartoon community. But also, the Nickelodeon's executives should have said this earlier. Again, like, I get it if in their perspective that's just from a vocal minority, that's not much of an issue for them. But still, it could have been something that would have helped out to go and fix up some PR troubles, if you know what I mean. It could have really helped out. Let's see, what else do we got here? Well, at least this has finally been cleared. Although to say I can be as guilty to believe that this as well, but not fully, which considerably enough, this is something I even ask you in the Patreon Q&A, even consider it maybe if it's true or not. Overall, with this, will this really answer my question? There really is hope, but I can't say the same for Nick. If anything, I feel more propaganda, if you ask me. I honestly don't understand it. That's all I can say. Yeah, and I could understand if this piece right here is going to become controversial. Like, I'm not expecting everyone to suddenly change their mind about this, about this controversy and just go from there. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there are going to be those few people out there that are still going to believe that Stephen Hillenburg wouldn't want to do this and still try to spread that propaganda in order to give Kamp Koral a bad name. I honestly wouldn't be surprised about that. Alright, I think I'm going to go and read one more comment before we cap this off. Regardless whether or not Steven did approve Kamp Koral or not, I still have doubts that I'm going to like this show. Maybe one episode or two, but that's it. And yes, you are right, Matt. People should stop with that Steve's disapproval lie to just clarify their hatred for Kamp Koral, just like people should stop using God as an excuse for everything. This may be controversial, but the way I see it, God and religion would be treated as a guide through life, not a puppet master that controls everything you do. But then again, the people who do the people who do the latter, who say that God should do what God, like, I'm a messenger of God and I should do what I say, well, then again, that's why evangelicals and conservative Christians are not really considered real Christians anyways. Alright, but with that said, though, I think that should go and conclude this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and I just want to say, this has been quite a wild ride, like I said at the beginning, but I just want to say thank you all so much for watching, and thank you all so much for listening. Maybe next week we're going to have a lot more crazy adventures and crazy stories to go and talk about, but for now, I just want to say, once again, thank you all so much for listening, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, see you later, dudes!